Now, in 2017, the National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee, while reviewing the Auditor General's report of IEBC, observed that there were instances of outright conflict in the functions of the CEO and the chairman of IEBC. And it went on to say that such conflicts arose mainly on procurement matters, and especially procurement of KIMS kits and other election materials. You are aware that just, I think, a few weeks or last month, IEBC requested for a budget of 62 billion to procure and conduct elections for 2027. As the chair of IEBC, and if considered for this position, how would you ensure that there is transparency in the operations and procurement functions of IEBC? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tanui, for that question. Firstly, I think this is what the Supreme Court talked about, corporate governance of the IEBC, and saying having defined and definitive roles for chairman, the commissioners, and how they relate with the CEO alongside other members of staff. As structured, the IEBC is that the CEO is the accounting officer, and therefore IEBC does the procurement through what is called the best practices for procurement is to do procurement through committees that are set up within the IEBC and are gazetted for that purpose internally, or either gazetted or internally circulated by the accounting office. First, as chairman, my responsibility, and I think also of other commissioners, is policy oversight and policy oversight and strategy. As to the day-to-day and actual running, that should be done by those who are tasked with the functions of pushing everything. So as chairman, we receive recommendations, so we approve what strategic guidelines are offered by the technocrats within the IEBC, because we will not all be technocrats or have the know-how on every bit and aspect of the electioneering process. So I think first and foremost is that to reduce this issue of conflict between the chair and the CEO on specific things like procurement, the only thing we give will be oversight and also directions that this is the type of things we need, this is how to be procured, but the participation of the chair in the procurement process, I think, would be faulty and wrong within the procurement laws. The chair can only give directions so that the CEO and others are able to function. This is what is expected of an institution, so that we have an institutional framework where it functions with directions from the policy and oversight.
Thank you.
Okay, next I'll ask Evans Misati to ask some questions.
Thanks so much, Mr. Rorot. Now, on the same forum on the issues of IPC, the chairperson and the secretariat, you have said that the commissioners have to provide oversight and directions. But you realize that the general public recognizes and the buck stops are the commissioners. But the people who are conducting the actual operations at the secretariat. So in your own view, what do you think should be done to make sure that the people, the buck stops are them, they have the control, as much as we have that oversight and directions? So how do you define the working relationship? Assuming you are given this position as the chair, how will you define the relations, or what structures will you implement to ensure that that is done?
Thank you, Mr. Misati. You have correctly pointed out that the public looks at us as the ones who are the face of the commission, and I think that should not stop. The face of the institution should be represented by the chair and the commissioners. That should not stop because that is the face of the institution. But the institution functions through the secretariat. They are what we call support services. So what happens is that it is through creating defined roles. We have to go back. We have to go back. But if I'm appointed, if the committee, the panel recommends that I become chair, one of the first things on the tray would be to ensure that these roles are clearly defined, and we get into the recommendations by the Supreme Court that we have clear guidelines on corporate governance. I'm sure there are documents by IBC. I'm sure they have not been sleeping. They have been preparing these documents is to look at what has been happening and where there is gaps, how to now improve them. But the communication of everything about the commission should be left now to the chair, so that if there are issues that are for communication, the chair can delegate this function. But for communication of serious aspects of the commission should be left so that the public is aware we are procuring. When we say we are procuring, it's not that the chair is procuring. It is the commission that is procuring through various committees. You would have perhaps a chair of that committee for procurement would be a commissioner who is well versed in aspects of procurement or public finance. And therefore, when they are making the recommendations through their panel papers to the commission, it comes to us, and then we approve, or we make changes, or we say these are issues we now need to go and negotiate with finance so that there is disbursement of funds. And I think that is how a proper system works.